Hello, welcome to the Alone Show. I'm your host, John Alone. In this episode, no co-host, because reasons, as always. As for our guest, their organization is based in Reno, Nevada, and one of them is working for International Sibling Society. But of course, there was going to be other people, but this is last minute, so we have one guest coming on, and that guest, ladies and gentlemen, is Cindy Burleson.
Thanks for inviting us.
You're welcome.
So yeah,
So,
I'm Cindy with the International Sibling Society out here in Reno, Nevada, and we're organizing the Global Race for Sustainability, which is in over 190 countries.
wow, impressive.
Oh yeah.
And how did this all started? What's the origins of it?
All right, good question. The International Sibling Society, we've been around since 1998. And we started with the issue of international child abandonment. We moved into Olympic truce and the power of sport in bringing about peaceful outcomes. And now, after the pandemic, we have rebranded ourselves and after much polling to create awareness of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. Um, and the 17 Sustainable Development Goals are they were organized through the United Nations, but they're not organized by the United Nations. I like to make sure everybody is aware of that. The 17 Sustainable Development Goals were organized like people or from people like you and me and everyone else in the world, everyone who wanted to participate. You could participate, of course, as a country delegate, but you could also participate as an NGO, just like us, a nonprofit. So they've over a course of many, many meetings, beginning in 2012, um, people have been coming together to look at uh, pressing goals, or what are our problems, and as or what are humanity's problems? What do we need to do to make the world a better place? And out of all of those discussions through many years, 17 sustainable development goals were established. And they're amazing goals. They're big goals. They're not easy peasy goals. They're things like eliminate poverty, quality education for all, gender equality, climate action, life on land, life on water, sustainable cities, and many more. My favorite is number 17, which is partnerships for the goals. So we are, creating awareness of these sustainable development goals. Humanity has agreed to work towards achieving these goals by the year 2030. And the year 2030 is right around the corner. So we're very much at the finish line here, and we're running this race towards sustainability because we're trying to all achieve these goals by the year 2030. There's much discussion as to whether or not we're going to make it. A lot of talk is these goals are too lofty. We're not going to make it. And the other side is there's people trying. So we don't know how the ultimate outcome is going to be, but we do know that we're running towards the finish line to, achieve these goals by the year 2030.
Impressive.
Yeah. Do you
And
want to know how the International Sibling Society fits into all this?
yeah, go ahead.
I'll tell you. We are an arts and culture organization. That's how we're set up as a nonprofit in our country. So, as an arts and culture organization, we are organizing the Global Race for Sustainability, which is, in a sense, an artistic expression where art is imitating life. Okay, so we talked about how the Sustainable Development Goals is a lofty set of goals that all humanity is striving for by the year 2030. The International Sibling Society, we're actually making a real world visualization or representation of that by putting human feet on the planet, on the ground, running a series of runs, anywhere from 5Ks, 10Ks, half marathons, full marathons, even family fun runs, to literally and artistically represent the global race for sustainability. So, in over 190 countries, we have runners that have registered for the race, and I could tell you how to register for the race on the Race Roster platform online. They're registered for the race. They've agreed to run whatever distance they've agreed to run, and there's no. It could be a small distance or it could be a larger distance, whatever you want to run. Um, so they've all agreed to run for sustainability as a concept, but it is physically happening because those feet are hitting the planet, running, running, running towards the
Very good.
finish line.
All right then. And out of the 17 goals, which one have you seen the most progress since this organization has started?
That's a super, super great question. Okay. And now I'm going to answer it like a techie answers things. Okay. We're with AI on the scene and all of the developments that have happened in AI and all of that since about November of 2022. We're now dealing in large data sets, large amounts of data. And when you ask about which particular goal and what the measurement of that goal is, there are some amazing tools out there. And there's one that's posted on our website called the SDG assessment tool, where you can, look at individual goals of the sustainable development goals, even in different countries, and see how they're doing. More and more tools, tech tools, large data tools are coming out every day. So we can literally see how we're doing, which is amazing because these are big, huge goals. Well, now with the help of all of technology, it's easy to tell. And to answer your question, it changes all the time.
Yes, absolutely. I remember I had this one guest who is an expert on AI, and at the time I had him on, he said there's more greater technological enhancements in AI towards the future than there has been in the past. So of course, at this point, there could be more technological progresses with AI in the next few months as it been ever up until now. It's just
Mhm.
crazy.
Yeah, it's happening. It's so wonderful. And we honestly, we owe a lot of the global race for sustainability. It is really being well received. We are so thankful for it. Um, the people, the human beings are like, oh, this is such a cool project. We want to get involved. But I'm going to tell you what's happening is the technology is pacing us forward. It keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger because there seems to be no boundaries with the technology. We went from 38 countries to over 190 countries pretty quickly. And, you know, as human beings, we're also running, running, running with AI or with technology pacing us. Okay. We're keeping up with technology and we're just loving how far technology is taking us, how
Yeah.
fast we're
Ab-
running.
oh
Can't
yes.
believe we're running this fast.
Neither can I. And of course, out of the other 17 targets, which of which one of the 17 do you think there isn't enough progress on since the organization started?
So there is now I do when you say the organization started, well, I tell you what, let me just answer your question with that. I'm going to kind of turn it around a little bit. I think you said which one needs the most work, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
Which of?
I'm
Go
going to
on.
turn it around just a little bit and tell you the one that seems to get the most interest. Like, we see hits and analytics and stuff like that pointing to this one particular sustainable development goal more than the others. And that is actually it's the first one, but it's the one to eliminate poverty, alleviate it, get rid of it, get rid of poverty. That sounds pretty big, doesn't it?
Yes, it does
And
sound
that's the biggest one that most people are interested in. Behind that, I'd say the oceans. get the most inquiry. And I want to say that's goal number 14. So the oceans are very popular. So to flip that around and asking which ones get the least, of course it changes. There's one I can't remember right now, but one like if we were to look at the videos on our YouTube channel, there's some that get very few inquiries about, and I want to say that they might even be the smart city ones. I'm not. I don't want to say. I don't want to put a dart on one particular sustainable development goal in a negative way. I do want to just get that message out that it's constantly changing. But I can tell you, ending poverty and helping the oceans seem to be the most popular ones that people are asking about.
Yes, I definitely understand. And no matter how hard people try to annihilate these kinds of problems, I think, in my opinion, from how I've seen the last few years, I think it comes down to whoever people are in charge of either the national slash federal or local districts or councils and how they handling with these targets. I think personally, if every leader and individuals who are running the countries and local councils do the best they can to meet with these goals, I think the 2030 target might actually become a lot more recent by a year or two, maybe three.
As in, you think that we will meet the goals early?
Yes,
Oh,
yeah,
great.
if everyone cooperates, yes, if everyone cooperates to the best of their ability, I think these targets could be met earlier than we could expect.
Yeah, I love that idea. Well, that's
Yes.
great. And you mentioned that you think this has a lot to do with people who are, in charge of governments or things like that. Is that where you were going with that? And you're thinking that they're doing good?
Yeah, that is what I'm on about.
Yeah.
Now,
Okay,
I'm
that's
I'm not.
great.
Yeah,
I would encourage. There's this group of people that is really impressive, and it's not exactly my demographic. I've been around for a while. Let's just put it that way. But the younger generations are taking the sustainable ideas, the sustainable development goals, the whole concept of sustainability, and they're looking at it as a like a business model, like how they're this is how the younger generations are thinking. They're thinking more sustainable ideas to the point that they look at it as a business opportunity with certain things like certain coffee shops well, anyway, any sustainable business, they're like all into it. So the younger generations they're also doing quite well, leading the way a little bit differently. Instead of from a governmental regulatory position, they're looking at it like a business opportunity.
yes, that is true. But of course, regardless of how people approach to these, what's important is there is the pure intentions of meeting those targets, regardless of the method. So long as there is attention and publicity around these goals, and we're on the way to meet them.
And I tell you another thing about the businesses that people are starting that are sustainable businesses. Here's another thing that I point out when just in talking about the sustainable development goals is if you're in business, you need to know what these goals are. Because next time you go to the bank and you apply for a loan for your business, they're going to ask you which of these goals are you working towards. So it's kind of even becoming, I like to see how you need to know about the 17 sustainable development goals before you go in to the bank to ask for your loans for your businesses.
Yes, that is very true. So, where do you see International Sibling Society in the next 10, 20 years?
10 or 20 years. Well, I see us still around. We've been around for a while, so we're we have actually, and through the pandemic and all that, we have discovered, like the rest of us, resilience. So in 10 to 20 years or 25 years or whatever your time frame was, I'd just say that we'll still be around. Um, we do have the ability to take on new issues as they're pressing. Like I think I mentioned earlier in the interview that we started out looking at international child abandonment issues. And if I did not mention this, it was in another interview this morning, so I apologize. Maybe I haven't mentioned it, but since 1998, we've worked on three different set of issues. The first one was international child abandonment, where we defined sibling bonds in different parts of the world, looked at children in different orphanages, and wanted to see what happens when siblings, brothers and sisters, get are living in orphanages. Do they get separated? Do they stay together? What happens? So we studied that for many years and ended up uh, collecting a bunch of the children's paintings, and they were exhibited at the United Nations in New York City a few years ago. Well, a while back. Then we got into Olympic studies and the power of Olympic truce in bringing about peaceful outcomes in conflict situations. Uh, and then we got into the sustainability goals after the pandemic. And this question you ask is, where will we be in 25 years? I can tell you that in 2030, when the Sustainable Development Goals are scheduled to end, there will be another set of global goals that humanity will be working for. So, although the sustainability goals will be done and over in 2030, I assure you there'll be another group of goals, global goals. When the International Sibling Society started, we were all working towards the Millennium Development Goals that were a set of goals set to be accomplished by the year 2000. So that came and went. And then the new set was the Sustainable Development Goals for the next 30 years. So I assure you, after these goals are, you know, targeted 2030, there'll be something new. And the International Sibling Society will be there, advocating and swimming in the same waters as the rest of us. So,
Oh yes, absolutely. And I know you've mentioned something about meeting with 15-minute cities.
now say that again.
I've heard that you mentioned about 15-minute cities.
Are you saying 15-minute cities?
Yeah, I've that's what I thought you've said a lot at some point.
Maybe it was sustainable cities?
Okay, fair enough.
Well, I don't think, well, I don't know what 15-minute cities are. Sounds interesting though. I guess
Yeah,
it sounds like a video.
I guess so.
No, I think that was just probably my accent made it sound like 15-minute cities.
Fair
Um,
enough.
there are the smart city concepts.
Oh yeah.
Did you want to talk a little bit about that? Or I bet you've had a lot of guests that have come through on your podcast talking about sustainable cities and
Yeah, I sure have.
yeah,
And of course, I want to mention that I also had at some point some guests that have come on, and they're not particularly with the idea of sustainable smart cities. What I want to ask you is, if there's people like that who have concerns or not liking the idea of sustainable and or smart cities, what would you say to them to convince that these initiatives are the best way to ensure that we can all live in peace and harmony and to the best of quality of life?
sure. Now, it's just wonderful being in the discussion. So this is a discussion, okay? It's a 30-year long discussion, and sustainable cities is one of the things that's in the discussion. There are some people that like the idea and some people that aren't. I am going to tell you where I stand personally is, and we're out here we're in our real estate market and stuff like that, where we are is just so super inflated. And I'm seeing tons of properties being built that are just small square footage. And, having lived in a couple of those, you know, it's just too tiny of a space, in my opinion, that these some of the sustainable cities and ideas are pushing people into. That's my complaint. I mean, the world is big, the planet's big. I like to stretch out my arms. You know, I like the dog to be able to go outside. And some of these ideas and some of the things that I'm seeing, it's just putting human beings in small spaces, and I don't like that for myself. Um, so that's my personal opinion in it. But the sustainability and the use of technology and the way that the urban developers are developing, I'm going to say group space, but that's not the common areas and the entertainment and designing the cities. With the use of technology and all that, there's just some amazing and wonderful things but that's happening with the sustainable cities and such. But there's a slogan in the state where I live, Nevada, and our state slogan is "Don't fence us in." And that's exactly how I feel about some of these small spaces that some of the developments are fencing us into. So don't like that. But the whole idea of sustainable cities sounds great. Why do they have to be so small?
Yeah, that's actually a good point. Not all cities have to be crammed or small. They can just spread out just enough so there's enough space to do, well, I don't know what activity you can think of, but whatever activity there is, surely there will be enough space within your homes or communal spaces to do those things. If those are met, that's what's important, and that's good enough.
Don't you love the way that the sustainable development goals, it is just a huge discussion and a huge exchange of ideas, and that it doesn't matter where you are on the spectrum, that it's just a dialogue that is taking place all around the world. So you can talk with people on the other side of the world and you're talking about the same things because you have structure to your dialogue with the sustainable development goals. So, the
Yeah,
discussions
absolutely.
surrounding the sustainable development goals are wonderful. I mean, it's a good conversation.
It sure is. Is there any events in relations to the International Sibling Society that you have thought about wanting to do that you haven't done yet?
Well, I tell you, instead of what we haven't done yet, can we just really talk about this global race for sustainability and talk about how people can get involved? Because time is short. Literally, we're wrapping this up before the Olympics start. We all know the Olympics are right here on the horizon. And we just have a little bit of time to complete this year's race for sustainability. Um, so, if I could just tell everybody how to register and get involved with the event, can we do that?
Yeah, that could work.
All right. Um, if you start with our website, which is issnow.earth, that will take you to the race roster uh, registration site. And so I'm going to harp on our website or our web address real quick. So we're the International Sibling Society. So our website is ISS, just like the International Space Station, but it stands for International Sibling Society. So ISS, and then the word now, not yesterday, not 10 years from now, but right now. We live in the now. So ISS now dot Earth, the planet, not .com, not .org, not .us or UK. It's .earth. So put it all together. It's issnow.earth. So go there. There's a banner at the top of the page. Click register now. If you missed that banner at the top of the page, there's many just scroll down the page, see what we're doing, look at the global race for sustainability, look at the history of the International Sibling Society, and at the time as you're going down that page, you're going to see probably about 6 or 7 other opportunities and links that are going to say click here to register for the global race for sustainability, and it's all going to take you to the registration platform. And if you've ever run a race before, when runners we look for races in our area. Once if we run one and we're like so high afterwards, we're like come back to our computers and say, okay, what's the next race that we're going to run, and do. So Race Roster is that racing platform, or they're amazing. So you just go to the Race Roster platform and register just like you would register for any other race. And it just asks stuff like whatever which race you want to do. Do you want to do the family fun run, or do you want to do 5K, 10K, full or half marathon? And then a little bit farther down the page, you'll get to choose what team you want to be on just by a drop down menu. And you can choose the country of your choice. You can choose the country that you live in. You can choose a country that you want to run for, that may or may not be uh, living in a state of conflict at the moment. If your heart goes out to them, you want to run for that country, click that country. You may run for the country of your choice. And there's over 190 countries there. You can even run for the Holy See if you wanted to. It's on there. So because the Holy See, by the way, is recognized by the United Nations as an observer state, so that's the only reason I mention it there. But there, you can run for them if you want to. You get to choose who you want to run for. Can I share something with you?
Yes, you can share right ahead.
I'm going to share something. I know you're in England, in the
Yes,
UK.
I am.
Well, you know what? We don't have anyone right now registered to run for the UK. So we've got a team right there, but no runners on the team.
Okay, I see that.
If there's any of your listeners that are wanting to run for UK, it's wide open.
Yes,
So,
wide open.
yeah. So we would hope that some people listening would register for the UK team. Certainly, there's going to be some UK or some individuals from England to run the race before it's over. It ends on the 20th of July, and the Olympics start the following week.
Okay, interesting. And that is all we have for this episode. It was great having you on, Cindy, talking about International Sibling Society, the 17 Sustainable Goals, and loads of in-depth conversations in terms of the goals and, of course, the initiative and the origins and so on. It's impressive.
Well, thank you. It's been a pleasure talking with you.
It sure has been. And until next time, stay tuned for more.